Hey everyone. Yeah, things are getting really serious now when you're talking about the run-up to the 2019 elections in October. The federal Liberals are doubling down on their efforts to silence or suppress any voices out there that challenge their political orthodoxy or that ideology that they try to propagate to the masses with the help of the establishment media. I mean, it's already a Herculean task to sort through, which is what I do on a daily basis, to sort through the kind of political diatribe and propaganda that's put forth by most of those in the establishment media, in particular the CBC. Because we all know, I mean, almost every Canadian out there understands whether they're aligned with the CBC and agree with the kind of rhetoric they espouse, or they're against it, or even those people who are apolitical in nature. Everyone, if you go out there and talk to them, will give you an answer that yes, the CBC does lean left predominantly when you're talking about their kind of coverage regarding news and events. Now, the actual news itself, I mean, just like with any media or news organization, the actual information, you know, if an incident happens, yes, the actual incident, when they report on it, they will point out like this particular thing happened. But it's the subsequent rhetoric. And that's why you see most of the things that I deal with that are coming out of CBC News, and a lot of the biggest stories are all done under the politics section. And that's for a very good reason. Because under the politics section, their lawyers tell them, oh, here's the area where you can use subjective opinions and biased narratives and not be held legally accountable or responsible for doing so because you're putting it under the politics file or in the politics section of your organization. That's how they try to skirt and undermine the very real fact that the CBC News organization, you know, when they're covering anything that has to do with Trudeau or the federal Liberals, they're doing political propaganda. That's a PR campaign. That's why you see it there. They never hold the Trudeau Liberals to account properly. They'll skirt around the edges. But you see that they're the ones that get negative attention from the CBC are people on the opposite side of the political spectrum, which, think about it, in Canada, that represents a very, very tiny minority of people. Even the so-called conservatives in this country, well, as far as the established party, like the Conservative Party, the federal Conservative Party, that's not even a conservative party. Like I say, you're really talking about mostly left-leaning political parties in this country. Whether, well, here's the way it goes, basically. The Green is way, 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 way on the left. The NDP is way out there with them. Then you got the Liberals and the Conservatives. Both of them are fighting and battling for position of that center-left position. The Liberals, because they're wanting to challenge their NDP or their socialist counterparts, and propagate that kind of political messaging, they're moving further and further left. But then again, so are the Conservatives. That's what they do nowadays. They do this sampling in polling, and they're basically like, well, this is what democracy is. When you're using polling samples as the determining factor of your political posture and positions, well, you're basically looking today. That's why you're seeing a lot of leftist narrative, and that's why the media is following the lead and reporting from that very leftist perspective. There is no, well, I mean, Maxime Bernier, even the PPC, and I'm a supporter, I'm a founding member, put that out there. I've only voted 2 other times in my entire adult life in this country, and it was just provincial elections. I don't think I've ever actually participated to vote in a federal election. I don't believe in the political process, folks, to be honest with you. But what I notice is I'm at least, because I don't think politics is what's going to help us out to fix the situation. I really don't. But I recognize that there's at least a new game in town that's willing to challenge the status quo. You know, just like something like Trump down south of the border, although, you know, much different as far as Canadian politics. But it's an outsider, or, well, actually Maxime was an insider, but he's shown that he's willing to be an outsider and challenge the status quo in this country. And as far as I'm concerned, because he has name recognition, he's already been in the media. Canadians already know what the PPC represents. Once again, it completely aligns with the fact that I understood earlier on. The reason why I never voted for the Libertarian Party of Canada is because the media doesn't even cover the Libertarian Party. Most Canadians don't even know that there's such thing as a Libertarian Party in Canada. So the reason why I've jumped on board to support Maxime Bernier is because we know that this is the only opportunity we're going to get to actually at least pivot to a more liberty-oriented platform or policy, and at the same time get rid of those entrenched and established people that have now dominated and propagate the political spectrum. But Trudeau, he's out there and he's making sure, like I say, that he wants to, in come October 2019, he wants to make sure he's been threatening what? Facebook, Twitter. He's been out there trying to use that authoritarian mentality and psychology on these social media platforms and say, hey, you better get in line and do what we ask of you. Make sure you suppress or silence any voice that challenges us, or they keep trying to pump up this narrative that, ooh, there's foreign actors or influence. Ooh, the Russians are coming, right? That's this constant fear mongering. That's that tired old tactic of, oh, an observable or potential external threat. Like these people, they know full well the psychology of the human being because they have a lot of handlers that tell them that, yeah, hey, if you keep the domestic population scared of some external threat, they'll seek safety and comfort in the established parties, especially those in power. So like I say, Trudeau's been spending a lot of time, and his lackeys in the federal Liberals, trying to double down on their ability or their capacity to silence or suppress any voices that might challenge their political orthodoxy. And this latest initiative is just the most recent example, and actually very nefarious example of how they're going to do that. Headline out of the Toronto Sun, Fury, be wary of Liberal plan to police fake news during the election. This being reported by Anthony Fury, January 31st, 2019. Try to come up with a working definition of fake news in a few seconds, something that would fit into a sentence or two. It's not as easy as it sounds, despite the endless chatter about the phrase, and you'll be even harder pressed to come up with a definition that'll be acceptable to a large number of people. Ask 10 people for the definition and you're bound to get 10 different answers. Yet somehow the federal government thinks it has a firm handle on the issue. Enough so that on Wednesday morning, several Liberal cabinet ministers convened a press conference to announce what they're doing to combat fake news, disinformation, and foreign interference in the upcoming federal election. The plan includes $7 million to fund workshops that aim to teach Canadians how to sort through potential disinformation, as well as critically assess online news reporting and editorials. So basically the Liberals are saying you're all just a bunch of idiots and you're going to need the Ministry of Truth, which is basically like, this isn't even a joke, folks. Well, it's a little bit of hyperbole, but I mean, let's be honest here. They're literally creating a Ministry of Truth. I mean, just read through the documentations, read through and understand how they're rolling this out, and you'll see that, yes, the federal Liberals have actually gone and created, or are attempting to create, their own Ministry of Truth in Canada. I mean, if that don't disturb you, I don't know what will. And the crazy part is that $7 million, that's you. That's you, the taxpayer. You're paying to be propagandized and have voices silenced and suppressed that you might vitally need so that you can make an informed decision in October. But the federal Liberals, like, they don't want you to make an informed choice. No, they want you to make the right choice. Or should I say the left choice, the liberal choice. This is a dangerous path to head down, to put it mildly. The very notion of a party in power coming up with the framework for how to police information during a campaign in which they'll be seeking re-election is already a massive conflict of interest. Gee, you think? That's not the end of it, though. The feds also unveiled something called the Critical Election Incident Public Protocol. If the government becomes aware of an interference attempt during the election, a panel of senior bureaucrats will be convened to figure out whether it's serious or not, a substantial threat to a free and fair election, and if so, a press conference is held to inform the public. Like I say, the Ministry of Truth, and the fact that all 5 appointees for this, new initiative are all liberal hacks, liberal appointees, all part and parcel of the Liberal Party, right? Not even someone from Elections Canada or anyone that would be perceived as non or bipartisan in any way, or unbiased, which, I mean, I'm sure everyone is somewhat biased, but at least, like, if it was someone from actually Elections Canada that at least had the presumption of being unbiased, that might go over a little bit easier. But once again, the Liberals are so emboldened these days that they're willing to even just put this out, knowing full well that all the appointees come from their particular party. Wow. What shape is this going to take? What if hundreds of nameless social media accounts originating from Russia or China start sharing a story that makes Prime Minister Justin Trudeau look bad? Is that interference? Likely. If the story is completely bogus, certainly yes. So once again, even if it's foreign actors offering political narratives or opinions, which we all know this, Think about it. This week this week and last week they've been reporting on how much Canada has been deeply entrenched down in Venezuela, part of that Lima group, and about, you know, affecting the electoral or the election process in that. So we already know that, well, Canada, the US, UK, we already know that all countries around the world use their own particular actors and propagandists to influence elections, or not even just propaganda, actually boots on the ground people, right? Actually use resources, government resources or NGO resources as a means to affect elections in foreign countries. So the fact that if Russians or Chinese want to do it in Canada or the US or the UK, of course, all foreign actors. But once again, if it's just people putting out information, where does the government feel that they should have any means of authority to intervene and tell you what you're allowed to see or what you're allowed to hear? That is literally, like I say, that's the Ministry of Truth telling you that, no, you're too stupid to be able to sort through and figure this stuff out. So if the Russians or some bots put out a political campaign ad somewhere on social media, well, no, you're too stupid to understand that you should disagree with them, even if they say things that make sense. That's the other thing. What about the content, right? What about the actual content? Who cares where the source comes from? If the source is saying that you shouldn't trust the Liberals because they're very corrupt, well, I'll tell you the exact same thing. So the source shouldn't really matter per se when you're talking about information, because once again, this is just information, folks. And no central planner should have any pretense of authority to be able to dictate or manage the kind of information that you're allowed to get. Then the question becomes, should the feds call on social media outlets to shut down these accounts? And should they then hold a press conference to inform the public to be wary of it all? Maybe, but the optics of it are difficult. Government resources being used in the middle of a campaign for what basically amounts to shooting down a negative story about the PM. Shouldn't it just be up to the public and other media to swat away the fake news? Well, of course it should be. You know, in any society where the people are considered free and treated as adults, yes, the onus is on us. That's that personal responsibility thing. But the government, the federal Liberals, they don't want to give you any personal responsibility. As they're clearly showing. They want to be your authoritarian thought leaders and not leave anything up to interpretation for you to decide and determine or decipher. They're going to do all that for you. Think about how many regimes around the world in the past that have done the very same thing. You know any good stories? You know any positive political spin that people can put on those kinds of regimes? I don't think so. Here's a harder example. What if the story shared by the bots is an accurate story published by, say, the Canadian press? The bots are sharing it to make the PM look bad, but it's not fake news. Maybe because of the foreign bots sharing the story so widely, a handful of Canadians who are otherwise going to vote Liberal changed their mind. Foreign actors swayed votes. Is that disinformation? Should it be shut down? Should there be a press conference to warn people that an otherwise above-board story has fans in the Kremlin? Exactly. These questions matter. There have been a whole lot of think tank reports and academic papers written about fake news, and they all tend to talk in generalities. But there are no generalities to fake news. The only way to tell what's fake and what's not is to dig deep into the details. This is what federal officials and this newfangled instant response panel will be tasked with getting right. Good luck with that. You can bet that when a press conference is held, it will only make matters worse. It'll create a cascading reaction where everyone debates whether what's brought up is actually true disinformation. People will question the government's motives. This will create confusion and subsequent news stories more fake than the first one. The feds have also released a condescending graphic they're planning to send around that tells people, think critically about what you see online. Why am I seeing this information, it reads. Is this message trying to influence me? Canadians should also think critically about this whole government plan. Yeah, and once again, I just can't help but point out $1 billion crown crony corporation, aka the CBC. Like I say, they get to plunder. I've never offered to voluntarily support the CBC ever, and neither have a lot of Canadians, but we're all forced to pay for that kind of propagandist outlet, and it's entrenched, right? It's entrenched in the bureaucracy, and it's coast to coast. Like, it propagates through the airwaves, the radio waves, television, and online media. Like, it is the biggest propagandist outlet in Canada by far, with no one even matching or coming up to be even a close second place. But yet, once again, they can put out whatever political diatribe or rhetoric that they want, and that's considered on the up and up, right? But if anyone else dare challenge the political orthodoxy that now dominates the political structures and the media structure in this country, yeah, now all of a sudden, like I say, they're going to find a way to suppress or silence you. Like I say, Canada, we don't need a ministry of truth. And it's about time. Not only should we be pushing back against this, but and definitely getting Maxime Bernier in 2019, but once we do, we got to make sure that we actually push this far enough where we actually have genuine freedom of speech in this country. We need to replicate the kind of rights and freedoms that our counterparts to the south of us have had enshrined in their constitution since the inception of that country. It's unfortunate in Canada we have a notwithstanding clause that allows the political or ruling class to circumvent all your rights and freedoms. No, we need to get rid of that, and we need to adopt a genuine acknowledgement of people's inherent right to speak freely. That needs to be enshrined, and any pretense of having anything even remotely resembling hate speech laws, yeah, that needs to be wiped out too. Speech is speech, folks. Like I say, we need to adopt and implement a true understanding of what freedom of speech entails. The Americans have done it. That's that one bastion, that's that one beacon on the entire world, in the entire globe, that has a genuine acknowledgement and recognition of freedom of speech. And we need to bring that to Canada. This is Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.